You probably think you're in full control of your thoughts, that your decisions, what to buy, who to trust, what risks to take, are all yours. But let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why you keep falling for the same mistakes, even when you swore you'd learned your lesson? Why your fears feel so real, even when logic tells you they shouldn't? Why certain memories seem louder, stronger, more convincing than the truth? The answer might terrify you. You're not thinking freely. You're thinking through a filter, one you didn't choose and often don't even see. Modern psychology has revealed something haunting. Your brain is full of built-in errors. Mental shortcuts, illusions, biases, strange patterns that twist how you perceive reality. And the worst part? You don't even notice them. These thinking traps were built into your survival code. In the wild, they kept you alive. Today, they keep you stuck. In anxiety, in bad habits, in failed decisions. And unless you learn to recognize them, you'll keep living a life that feels logical, but is actually rigged. This two-part series explores 21 of the most dangerous thinking errors, drawn from the groundbreaking work of Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman, author of the classic Thinking, Fast and Slow. Kahneman showed us that we don't have one mind, but two. System 1, fast, automatic, emotional. System 2, slow, deliberate, logical. You'd think System 2 would be in charge, but it's not. System 1 dominates your daily life, silently. It reacts before you even realize you're thinking. It judges before you know what you're seeing. It decides before you're aware a decision is happening. This invisible autopilot is why you feel confident, even when you're wrong. It's why you think you remember something clearly, even when your memory is changed. It's why you fear things that are safe and ignore risks that are real. Today, we begin uncovering these traps, not to shame you, but to set you free. Because the first power of clarity is knowing the difference between what you believe and what your brain simply assumed. Let's begin with 6 of the most dangerous and invisible mind traps. 1. Survivorship bias, the invisible graveyard. You see successful people all the time, on TikTok, YouTube, stage, or in business. And you think, if they made it, I can too. But here's what you don't see: the graveyard of those who didn't. Survivorship bias happens when we only focus on the winners and forget the failures that didn't survive to tell their story. During World War II, researchers studied bullet holes on returning aircraft and thought, let's add armor where the planes got hit the most. But mathematician Abraham Waltz said, wrong. We should armor the spots that weren't hit, because those are the areas where a single shot likely killed the plane. That's the trap. We only look at what survived, and so we miscalculate what actually matters. In real life, you see billionaires who dropped out of school, but never the millions who did and failed. You see YouTubers who went viral, but not the thousands who posted for years and gave up. Survivorship bias feeds your dreams with lies. It tells you, if they did it, you can too, while ignoring the hundreds who did the exact same thing and lost everything. So be bold, but be realistic. The road to success is real, but it's not as crowded as it looks. Most of it is littered with silence. 2. Self-serving bias, the ego's favorite lie. If you win, it's because you're smart. If you fail, it's because the world is unfair. Sound familiar? That's self-serving bias. It makes us take credit when things go right and blame the world when things go wrong. It protects our ego, but it blocks our growth. You get an A on your test? You're a genius. You fail. The teacher's biased. Your company grows. Brilliant leadership. It struggles. Bad economy. We all do it. Until we learn to face one uncomfortable truth. You are responsible for both your success and your failure. This doesn't mean shame. It means power. If it's your fault, it means it's also in your hands to change. 3. Fundamental attribution error, the double standard. When someone else messes up, they're lazy. When you mess up, it's just a bad day. This is fundamental attribution error. We judge others harshly, calling it who they are. But we judge ourselves gently, blaming what happened to us. Simon's late. He's irresponsible. You're late? Traffic was insane. It's unfair, but it's automatic. And until you see it, you'll keep making enemies where you should build empathy. 4. Hindsight bias, the I knew it all along illusion. After something happens, it feels like you always saw it coming. I knew that stock would drop. I knew they'd break up. I knew he'd betray me. No, you didn't. You only think you did because your brain rewrote the memory. Hindsight bias makes the past feel predictable when it wasn't. It makes you overconfident, and it blinds you to how uncertain the world actually is. Real growth begins when you can say, I didn't know, but now I've learned. 5. Availability bias, your brain's flawed search engine. What's more dangerous, flying in a plane or driving a car? Most people say planes. Why? Because crashes make headlines. Car accidents don't. That's availability bias. We judge risk based on what's easiest to recall, not what's statistically true. If your friend was robbed once, you think the whole city's dangerous. If a shark attack was in the news, you fear the ocean for months. But just because it's vivid doesn't mean it's common. Your brain isn't Google. It's biased toward fear, drama, and the recent. 6. Sunk cost fallacy. When you stay, just because you stayed. I've already spent so much time on this relationship. I've already invested too much into this job. I've already watched an hour of this movie. Might as well finish it. This is sunk cost fallacy. You keep investing because you've already invested, even when it's clearly time to walk away. The truth is, what you've spent is gone. What matters is what you do next. 7. Framing effect. When the same truth feels different. Would you prefer beef that's 90% lean or 10% fat? It's the same thing, yet most people choose the first. Why? Because it sounds healthier. This is the framing effect. We react differently depending on how the information is framed, even if the facts don't change. Marketers use this against you every day. Pay only $4 per day. Sounds better than $120 per month. 95% survival rate is more comforting than 5% death rate. Words shape feelings, and feelings shape choices. Be careful. In the wrong frame, even a good decision can feel wrong. 8. Fundamental misunderstanding of exponential growth. Imagine this. You fold a piece of paper 50 times. How thick would it be? Most people say, a few inches. But the truth? It would reach the sun. Exponential growth is counterintuitive. We expect things to grow steadily, but reality often grows explosively. That's why we underestimate inflation, debt, population growth, and even disease spread. We don't fear slow change until it's no longer slow. Use the rule of 70. Divide 70 by the annual growth rate to see how long it takes to double. 5% inflation? Your money's worth half in 14 years. Don't trust your gut. Trust the math. 9. Availability cascade. When panic multiplies panic. A child finds a razor in a candy bar. News reports it. Other parents hear about it. Suddenly, it's national panic. This is an availability cascade. A small event becomes massive, not because of danger, but because of repetition. The more you hear something, even if it's false, the more real it feels. Social media is a wildfire for this. 1 tweet becomes fear. 10 tweets become outrage. 100? Public policy. Emotion spreads faster than truth. 10. Sunk cost fallacy, part 2. You're halfway through a bad relationship. Halfway through a degree you hate. Halfway through a Netflix series that bores you. And you say, I've already come this far. I can't quit now. But you can. And sometimes you must. The time, money, and energy are already gone. The only thing that matters is it worth continuing? Think of it like this. Would you start this again, today, knowing what you know now? If not, maybe it's time to stop. 11. Clustering illusion. When you see patterns in noise. Look at this. Zoxoxoxoxo. Do you see a pattern? Your brain does, even when none exists. This is clustering illusion. We love to find order in chaos, to make sense of randomness. But sometimes, chaos is just chaos. And your belief in a pattern makes you act on false certainty. This shows up in gambling, in stock charts, in love lives. You see signs when it's just coincidence. Stay grounded. Ask, am I seeing truth or just wanting to? 12. Hindsight bias, part 2. After a breakup, you say, I saw the red flags. After a failure, I knew this would happen. But here's the thing, you didn't act on it. That's hindsight bias tricking you, making you think you always knew, so you don't have to feel regret. But if you don't admit uncertainty, you'll never prepare better next time. True wisdom says, I missed it, but I'll catch it next time. 13. Self-serving bias, part 2. You win a game? Skill. You lose? Bad luck. You get promoted? I earned it. Someone else does. Politics. This is your ego talking. It loves praise, hates blame. But without blame, there's no growth. The truth is, sometimes you failed, not because of bad luck, but because of bad choices. Accept that, and you'll get better. 14. The Barnum effect. That's so me. You're independent, but also emotional. You have big dreams, but struggle with doubt. You value honesty, but hate being vulnerable. Sound familiar? It should. These statements are vague enough to fit almost anyone. Yet when you hear them in a horoscope, a quiz, or a psychic reading, you believe it's deeply personal. That's the Barnum effect. It makes us believe that generic statements are uniquely about us. Next time you say, "This describes me perfectly," ask yourself, could this describe literally anyone else too? 15. The availability bias, when memory replaces logic. My friend smokes, and he's still alive. I heard of someone getting rich off crypto. So what? That's not data, that's anecdote. The availability bias tricks your brain. Whatever comes to mind easily starts to feel true. We fear plane crashes more than cancer. We worry about shark attacks more than heart disease. Why? Because they're vivid. They're newsworthy, but not realistic. Don't confuse what's memorable with what's probable. 16. The exponential growth blindness, Part 2. A 5% annual inflation rate. Sounds small, but using the rule of 70, your money's value will have in 14 years. We are wired to think linearly, but real change often happens exponentially. It's not the slow burn you see, it's the silent explosion you don't. If you ignore compound effects, in finance, habits, health, or climate, you miss the true danger. The biggest trap isn't what you know, it's what you underestimate. 17. Confirmation bias. When you search only for what you want to believe, you believe something, and suddenly, everything you see supports it. Coincidence? No, it's confirmation bias. You're not researching truth. You're just collecting evidence to back your opinion. You avoid opposing facts. You follow voices that agree with you, and you become more convinced, less accurate. To escape it, you must ask, what would prove me wrong? If you never ask that, you're not thinking. You're just defending. 18. Survivorship bias, Part 2. You hear about the $1 million YouTuber, the startup that exploded, the actor who made it big. You think, I can do that too. But where are the stories of the ones who failed? They're invisible, and that's why they're dangerous. Survivorship bias hides the graveyard. It shows you the winner, but not the thousands of losers. If you only see the success, you'll underestimate the cost. 19. Fundamental attribution error, Part 2. They're rude? They're just a jerk. You're rude? I had a bad day. They failed. They're lazy. You failed. I was overwhelmed. We judge others on their character, but excuse ourselves for the circumstances. The result? We become harsher critics of others and softer defenders of ourselves. Wisdom begins when you ask, what if they're not bad, just struggling like me? 20. The bystander effect. Why no one helps when everyone's watching. You see someone collapse. You freeze. You look around. No one else is doing anything. So you wait. They wait. And no one moves. This is the bystander effect. The more people around, the less likely anyone helps. We think someone else will do it. And so no one does. If you want to change the world, don't wait for someone else to act. Be the first. 21. The illusion of transparency. People don't see what you feel. You're nervous, embarrassed, insecure. You think everyone notices, but they don't. This is the illusion of transparency. We believe our inner state is obvious, but to others, we seem fine. No one sees your anxiety like you do. No one notices your fear unless you show it. So stop overthinking. The spotlight isn't as bright as you imagine. You're doing better than you think. Every mind is a maze. Every decision, a hallway with mirrors. You thought you were in control, but your own brain had other plans. Cognitive traps aren't just flaws. They're human, built from fear, shaped by stories, amplified by society. But knowing them, noticing them, that's power. Because when you name the illusion, you take back control. If this video helped you become even 1% more self-aware, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone you love. Because the next time your brain tricks you, you'll be ready. And in our next episode, we'll dive even deeper into the subconscious mind, Until then, stay awake, stay curious, and stay free.